This portion of the John Fredericks Show is brought to you by Hargrave Military Academy. Attend an educational and informative open house event at Hargrave Military Academy in Chatham, Virginia. For more information, visit online at hargrave.edu. Hargrave Military Academy. Build his future.
Joining us now is United States Representative Robert Hurt. He's a Republican. He's from the 5th District of Virginia. He's a member of the Financial Services Committee. Congressman Hurt, great to have you with us, sir.
Good morning, John. Thanks for having me on your program.
Okay, well, we got an interesting day coming up today. The House members are going to be holding, we understand, hearings. Representative Edward R. Royce from the left coast, a Republican. He's the chairman of the Committee on Foreign Affairs. He said Monday on holiday that he was going to talk to Secretary of State John Kerry today and then ask him to come before his committee on Wednesday. Congressman, how is this all going to play out?
Well, I'm not sure. I think that it is good that the House of Representatives has insisted through its leadership that the president get authorization from Congress before taking any military action in Syria. I think that's positive. I think it's positive that the president has indicated that he will do so. I understand that the committees of jurisdiction, like Chairman Royce's committee, will be meeting throughout this week and taking testimony, and the proponents, I believe, will be trying to build a record for when we convene next week in order to evaluate this and make a vote. I will. Let me begin by saying this, though. I mean, as horrid as the images are that we've seen on the television, I have grave concerns about committing any military resources and any American lives to this effort at this point. I think the burden is completely on the president to articulate our national security interest. I have not seen that yet, and I think that the burden is on the president, the proponents, to clearly articulate for the American people our national security interest. And I think it's what goes along with that are two things. One is clearly identify an attainable goal. And what goes along with that, obviously, is a clear exit strategy. And so backing into something, we need to know exactly what it is up front we're getting into. I think our military, without question, is the finest military in the world. But they need a clear objective, one that they can execute. And with all due respect to the president, at this point, I haven't seen it. Now, the president obviously has access to a lot more intelligence than I have at this point, and I look forward to over the course of the week learning more about what the president's proposal is. I will keep an open mind, but I will tell you that I think that as it should always be, it is a very, very high bar, and when you look at the geopolitical landscape there now, I mean, good gracious, this is a civil war, and it's not clear to me how our national security advantage interests are advanced by getting in the middle of a civil war.
Well, wouldn't it be also fair to ask the question that if indeed there was military action by the U.S. and that did tip the balance in favor of the rebels, does anyone have any idea what a new Syrian government would be comprised of, or whether or not the national interest of the U.S. would be served at all, or could we be worse off?
Well, I think that you see the unrest in Egypt, and you see what has happened in Libya. I don't think that. I think where we have misstepped here recently has been that we have not been clear on who we're supporting or why we're supporting them, and not always knowing who we're supporting. And I feel like if we continue that, we just degrade our own credibility in the world, and certainly among those in the Middle East who are clearly not our friends, and certainly again degrade our credibility as it relates to our allies. one of the concerns that I have is if we all of a sudden decide to get in the middle of, again, a very tragic but clearly a civil war in Syria. If we suddenly Bigfooted in there, what are the consequences for Israel? I mean, who is obviously our greatest ally in the region? What are the consequences for them? I think that they could be profound, and we could unleash a regional conflict that could otherwise be avoided and contained.
And for absolutely no. Congressman, let me ask you this. I think one thing that's troubling people is President Obama's so-called red line, blue line statement. Remember that. And so my question is, had President Obama not made that statement, had he not said about crossing a red line, would we be in this situation now, or would we just be moving on?
Well, I hesitate to second guess the certainly the motivations of the president. Why he's doing this now. I know that there are suggestions that this is an effort to cover his to cover the fact that he's made statements that maybe he got a little far out on. Again, I'm not in a position to second guess that. We have to take it for what it is. But I do think that it does remind us that when we speak and when the president speaks for this nation, and makes statements that could commit our young people to action, and could subject them to the battlefield. Ultimately, committing our resources, our extremely expensive resources to a conflict like this. When he does that, and when we speak that way, we need to speak with clarity, and we need to always be willing to back up what we say. And what happens is when our president overextends himself, it puts Congress in a very bad spot, because it means that there's always the risk that the Congress is not going to follow him, and that makes the president look weak. It makes us all look. It sends a confused message to the world, and we need to be speaking with one voice, one strong voice, a clear voice, one that's not overextended, but one that is measured, and one that is willing to back up everything that it says. And I think that is the concern about statements like that he made.
No question, it puts everybody in a bad situation. Congressman Hurt, let me go on to this question regarding Syria, and I think you brought up a good point when you say that the world is watching. No one knows exactly where we stand right now. Is there going to be an immense amount of pressure on Congress to vote with the president? Because now the administration already started to make the argument that if Congress says no, much like the British Parliament rejected the call for action of Prime Minister David Cameron, that it's going to make the U.S. look feckless and weak. Is that pressure going to be applied to you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm sure that's what we're going to hear over the course of the next week, between now and the time Congress takes this up on the floor. But I can say for myself that cannot be a reason for us to commit our resources. That in and of itself cannot be a reason to support this. I have an obligation to the people that I represent. I took an oath to the Constitution, and to protect and defend the Constitution in this country, and the people that I represent, and that's where my allegiance is 100%. It's not to give cover to people who make statements that they otherwise might not have made. It should not have made. And so that to me I know, having been in Washington now for 2.5 years, that card will be played. But I think it's extremely important for Congress to take its responsibility seriously, as I think it will, and be true to those it represents, and be true to the Constitution.
Congressman, if just based on your being out in your district. I know you've been home for a couple of weeks, and you're one of those guys that you're out there talking to your constituents nonstop. If you were to take a public opinion poll right now in the 5th District of Virginia, as far as those that think, yeah, we ought to get involved in the Syrian situation, those that say stay out, how do you think it would play out?
Well, I have been across the district and have talked to our constituents, and I think people are outraged by what they've seen on television in Syria. Mm-hmm. People are inclined to want to support our president when he makes a call to a call to arms like this. But I tell you, I don't think I've encountered one constituent that said that they feel like the case has been made. The overwhelming sentiment that I have heard since I've been home is this is a Syrian civil war, and there is absolutely no case that's been made that indicate that we should get in. Now, if there are facts that I don't know, facts that have not been revealed to the American people, then I think that they're people of good faith, and they want to hear, and they want our country to be strong and lead where it needs to lead. But man, they do not have any interest in getting in the middle of a civil war, where all we do is run the risk of making things worse, as opposed to keeping our powder dry, so to speak.
All right, Congressman, we're out of time. We want to really tell you how much we appreciate your being on our show, and also, Congressman, your candor with us, always appreciated. U.S. Representative Robert Hurt, Republican from the 5th District of Virginia. He lives in Chatham. By the way, Chatham is where Hargrave Military Academy is. We're going to be talking about that in a minute because they got a big open house coming up on Saturday, September 7th at 12:30 p.m. Congressman, if our listeners want to get more info or sign up for your correspondence, where do they go? What do they do?
hurt.house.gov. That's hurt.house.gov. That's our website, and folks can find out how to get in touch with us on that website. That's the easiest way. Thanks so much for having me on your program, John.